what we're going to talk about today is how we believe that drones are going to scale globally. And we're using Hedera Hashgraph as one of our parent technologies. And talk about a little bit about why it's so important within the drone industry, what it is that we're using it for, and why Hedera, I guess. And what's that opportunity worth? So we've looked at multiple sources, IATA, Markets and Markets, and the European Air Traffic Management Master Plan. These are three very reputable sources, and we sort of took an average of these points, and it translates to about 2.7 billion drone flights per annum is what we're looking at on a global scale. And we think that we can, with our solution, we're targeting around about 1.5 billion of those flights per annum. And we think we can capture around about 360 million flights of that. So we're talking about a very sizable market here. You know, these flights don't have to be worth very much in the way of pounds and dollars for them, for that to be worth a fairly significant market. So it's a problem that's definitely worth solving. And that works out to be around about £1.29 or about $1.70. I was doing some quick maths per flight. So when we're talking about 2.7 billion flights per annum within 5 years, you can see that there's a lot of potential in it. So, you know, we could have applied a standard database to this problem. Now, the problem with applying a database to this problem and centralizing this problem of this kind of single airspace picture is that, imagine if Google went and deployed all of these sensors across the country, and then they were flying their drones using these sensors on the ground. And then Amazon came in and started wanting to fly their drones. But Google weren't very keen on letting them use their sensors on the ground. So Amazon then have to deploy their sensors. So what you end up with is this, what we call the data censorship problem. And I'm sure a lot of you distributed ledger technology fans will be very familiar with this one, is that basically data infrastructure and service provision are chained to each other. They're chained in such a way that if you own the data and the infrastructure behind that, then you can monopolize the service. And you see this in a lot of industries. Once you've got the data, then you can control the market. What we're trying to do here is to break these two apart and unleash these chains and actually separate data ownership and service provision from each other. So where do we use HCS? Why do we use HCS? Well, we use HCS when we execute each transaction. So we have these transactions going through our network, so data coming in, and then transactions going out to provide the drone operators with the airspace picture. And these happen every second. So we're looking at a throughput of around about every second. So every time we execute these transactions, what we want to be able to do is to create a record of what actually happened in that time. There's a few reasons for this, but basically it's an audit. It creates an audit trail for us. And it's really important when it comes down to liability. So when you've got a drone flying along and they say it crashes into an aircraft, then who's responsible for that? And what we don't want to be in a position is that people aren't accountable for their actions. So it's really important, especially when we start looking at autonomy and drones flying autonomously. We don't want to get into this world of Skynet where you've got killer robots hurting each other and then everyone pointing their finger at someone else. What we want is that we want a system where companies are accountable for their actions. We can record and audit exactly what happened in the sky at any given point in time. And we want to be able to know where that data came from. So we want to be able to understand the provenance of that data as well. These are all really important things for us. And we don't get that by using our leader-based consensus algorithms within our network. We don't get this. Whereas with Hedera, we do. So this is where we're using Hedera to execute when we execute each of those transactions.